Hey there, if you've heard the term hybrid architecture, this is going to be an opinionated, horrible drawing and to try to explain exactly what that is as it relates to enterprise software. So let's start with what you know. And looking at this board here, on the left we've got you and on the right we've got the vendor. Now when the vendor manages everything, when you just go into the application, you use it, it's your data is managed by them, it's their compute, it's obviously their software, this is something like Gmail or Facebook or Salesforce. These are SaaS applications. The pro, of course, is that you don't have to manage anything. I don't have a server in my basement for Gmail or for Facebook. The con is that they do have my data. Sometimes that's cool, sometimes that's not. When them having your data is typically not cool, you'll see more of the traditional model of software deployment. With the traditional model, the vendor gives you a binary, a tarball, a zip file. They give you some software like how we used to get those America Online CDs in the mail, or maybe you had Microsoft Encarta on your local machine or something like that. You'll get some software from the vendor. Now it's in your environment, it's your data, it's your compute. The vendor does not see any of this. And that's great. The downside is that you have to manage everything. You get the software, now you have to run it, you have to install it, you have to manage it. Of course, they're going to help you. This is not a value statement, but it's you're managing the process. So SaaS, they manage, but they get your data. Traditional, you manage, but you keep your data. The hybrid approach, as you can imagine, is a combination of the two. I keep bumping into this. And the combination here that you typically see, and you'll see with Coiled, where I work, is the compute and the data are going to live in your side. So it's still your servers accessing your data. The vendor is not going to see that. But the vendor is going to manage the software itself. They're going to manage the spin up and the spin down, or they're going to manage the kind of the running of stuff. Now, what does that mean? So typically the vendor will need a little bit of access here. In your cloud, this is managed with IAM permissions, some sort of identity and access management policy that says the vendor has the ability to come in and start some things and stop some things. But what they don't have is the ability to look at your data or to go into those instances, the compute instances, and look at your data. So I don't want to say it's the best of both worlds. Both of these other approaches are great, and oftentimes vendors will support two, if not all three. But to recap this, the idea of the hybrid model is that you're supposed to get the best of both. You get to keep your compute and your data. It's still managed by you. The vendor doesn't see, but you do not have to manage the software itself. So just to quickly recap SaaS, the vendor manages everything. It's no sweat, but they keep your data, or they get access to your data. With traditional, you get to keep access to your data, but you have to manage everything. With a hybrid deployment, you keep access to your data and the vendor still manages the software.